After 8 Thanksgivings of exclusion, my son and daughter-in-law revealed an incredible transformation that changed everything. Tom stood by the workbench in his garage, grease-slicked hands trembling as he stared at the half-finished mechanical contraption in front of him. Another Thanksgiving was looming, and along with it, the oppressive weight of 8 years of solitude hung over him like a dark cloud. He could hear laughter from neighboring homes, families preparing to gather around the table. Meanwhile, his own home remained painfully silent, a void that only deepened with each passing year. He was a mechanic, proud and dedicated, but those skills felt hollow without the familial warmth that he had once taken for granted. The memories danced through his mind, images of Thanksgiving dinners filled with turkey, laughter, and love, now serving as jagged reminders of what was lost. He grimaced, recalling the moment Jake had called him years ago, hurt lacing his son's tone as he explained the distance he'd felt, the resentment that had grown too vast to bridge. But the ache in Tom's chest grew heavier with realization that at this moment of solitude, it wasn't just the distance from his son that hurt. It was the bitterness of failed connections, his own failures blooming into resentful, choking vines around his heart. As he reluctantly mixed his signature pie filling for the first time in years, an unexpected spark ignited within him. With raw determination, he stirred. Sugar, tart apples, a dusting of cinnamon. And gradually, amidst the whir of life outside, he discovered the rhythmic solace of baking. The transformative process brought clarity, yet it also reminded him of the ways he had tried to reach his family and failed. With each ingredient, confidence battled disappointment, creating an alluring amalgamation of hope and dread. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Thanksgiving Day arrived, bringing with it anticipation entwined with anxiety. With the pie cradled in his hands, he approached Jake's front door, each step feeling heavier than the last. The laughter and chatter within were intoxicating and suffocating, a reminder of everything that felt out of reach. He took a deep breath, bracing himself against the pressure that coiled inside him like a spring, ready to snap. Once he entered, the cordial greetings were met with tight smiles. The air crackled with an awkward familiarity as Jake and Lily exchanged glances, any warmth quickly overshadowed by a chilling silence. But soon, in a rare moment, Lily's facade cracked, her voice trembling as she shared the burdens they bore, the heavy expectations, dreams that had faded against the harsh realities of life. As she spoke, Tom felt the embers of empathy stir within him, igniting the flicker of understanding he had longed for. Could they begin to dismantle the wall that had been built between them? Could they bond over their shared struggles, inching toward reconciliation? Tom's troubled thoughts spun rapidly as he sought to find his footing amidst these uncharted emotions, and with every shared laugh and lingering glance, a fleeting hope emerged. Yet, with every moment of intimacy, came the reminder that their journey would not be simple. Tom glanced at the pie again, its pleasant aroma a metaphor for his longing to share something sweet among the bitterness. But just as he began to voice a loving insight, an unease settled over the room, leaving Tom to question whether he truly had the strength to repair the fractures in his family, or if they were all destined to succumb to silence once more. The tension hung thick in the air, a spiraling uncertainty that left Tom yearning for clarity. Would they step through the doorway of reconnection, or retreat into the chilly shadows of unresolved pain? Tom's heart raced, and the weight of unspoken words pressed heavily on his tongue. The pie, now cool and inviting, felt like a bridge he desperately needed but feared to cross. A faint laugh from the kids shattered his momentary reverie, grounding him back in the reality of this fractured family gathering. He looked around the room, observing Jake and Lily, whose faces were cracked with a mix of joy and apprehension, as if they, too, sensed the fragile balance in the air. Tom could hear the clinking of plates and soft murmurs cloaking their table, but his eyes fixated on a photograph hanging on the wall, one taken years ago, at a Thanksgiving long before silence settled over their relationship. It sparked a deep yearning in him, a drive that pushed against his lingering uncertainties. Maybe, just maybe, he thought, I can help create new memories, even amidst the shadows of the past. With that fragile hope ignited, he set the pie down on the table, clearing his throat. The room quieted imperceptibly, attention drawn to the breadbasket centerpiece before him. "Hey everyone, I brought something," he said, his voice stronger than he felt. "It's my apple pie. I thought this year, maybe we could start something new." The silence lingered, but was swiftly replaced by hesitant nods and soft smiles. Amidst their lingering hesitation, Tom realized that sharing the pie wasn't just about the food. It was an offering, a shared piece of his heart, wrapped in the nostalgic scents of cinnamon and baked apples, a reminder of family gatherings once cherished. "Remember how we used to bake together, Jake?" he injected, pushing the boundaries of the silence. "You loved to help me peel the apples." Jake's gaze flickered to the past, the corners of his mouth lifting slightly. Lily leaned in closer, her curiosity peaking, a glimmer of connection igniting like flickering candlelight. Relief washed over Tom, a momentary feeling that maybe, just maybe, he could help unravel the ties that bound them to their unspoken fears. Yet, as if sensing his resurgence of hope, an unsettling thought crept in. What if they began to peel back the layers, only to find the bitterness of old wounds buried beneath? The idea sent a chill through him. Silence could be comforting, but it was also limiting. What if, in seeking connection, he stirred up divisions instead? Tom swallowed hard, the weight of these thoughts hanging heavily in his stomach. The room felt lighter, but the undercurrents of anxiety swirled beneath the surface, ready to spring forth at the slightest provocation. He could sense Jake hovering on the edge of confrontation, the tension in his shoulders taut as if bracing for impact. Tom's mind flickered through the intricacies of familial dynamics, the fragility of reconciliation triggering a rush of adrenaline through his veins. What if this moment could be different? What if the outcome hinged on his next words? The familiar scent of apples and cinnamon drew them closer, yet the fear of exposure, the risk of hidden truths, loomed large. "What do I say next?" he questioned silently, desperate to find the right path as possibilities swirled around him like a tempest. In that instant, Tom recognized that the road to healing would require daring, not just courage to speak, but also the resilience to stay vulnerable. This was not merely about offering pie, it was about tearing down the walls, however uncomfortable. He was ready to take that plunge, but would they join him or retreat back into silence? The prospect of transparency settled heavily upon him, a looming question. How far was he willing to go to unravel the truth? As those open exchanges and intricate connections beckoned, Tom's resolve hardened. The time had come to face not only the remnants of their past, but also the deeper, darker spaces inside himself. Would it be fruitful or painful? Only time would reveal the choices ahead. He set his jaw, preparing for whatever storm lay ahead. In that moment, he understood. The challenge wasn't just in words spoken, but in the vulnerability required to embrace what they had become. Would they take this chance together, or would he venture into those depths alone? The air held a palpable tension as Tom prepared himself mentally for the conversation he had long avoided. To unlock the door to healing, he needed to embrace the vulnerability that both terrified and invigorated him. The pie had created a moment of connection, a tangible piece of his past hovering between them. Yet he understood this festive facade could quickly crumble under the weight of unaddressed issues. "Look, I know things have been rough," he began, his gaze shifting from Jake to Lily. We've all been holding on to things, pain, resentment. I can't change what happened, but maybe we can change how we move forward. Lily's expression faltered, revealing a flicker of surprise at his sudden candor. Tom took her reaction as encouragement, pushing ahead into the uncharted territory of their relationship. What he lacked in preparation, he sought to compensate with earnestness. Remember when I used to ask you both to help with the pie crust? He was surprised by the depth of emotion in his voice. I think we can figure this out together, just like we used to figure everything out as a family. Jake's posture shifted too, uncertainty giving way to curiosity. They had danced around these shadows long enough. Now it was time to confront them. The old wounds whispered from the corners of the room. Each unhealed scar echoed with the unsaid words and replaced laughter. Tom felt the weight of them, yet he also felt the hopeful thrum of possibilities blooming in the air, ready to break through. Dad, it's not that simple, Jake replied quietly. But there was no malice in his tone, only vulnerability. The walls that had seemed so insurmountable began to look less formidable in this shared moment of honesty. What if I'm willing to try? What if we could each take a piece of that weight and share it? Tom pressed, his voice imbued with a firmness he hadn't anticipated. What if we could be honest and find out what still binds us? The initial hesitation in Jake's stance melted slowly away, replaced by a thoughtful consideration. Tom felt the shifts, their collective breath sinking as unguarded apprehension began to mingle with a burgeoning hope. Each word they exchanged served as a puzzle piece, slowly revealing the bigger picture of their shared experience. Then, without warning, Lily spoke up, her voice barely above a whisper. I don't want to feel like this anymore. I want things to be different. In that moment, Tom caught a glimpse of the foundation that could be rebuilt. They were not merely a fragmented family holding on to outdated narratives. They were individuals seeking meaning within the chaos, yearning for clarity. Was it possible? Could they really redefine their relationship? Suddenly, a fear clawed at Tom's insides. Reality crashed back to him, a hesitancy that could arise from exploring those depths. What if we uncover more than we're prepared to handle? He questioned inwardly. The image of disintegration loomed large, threatening to swallow them whole if they ventured too far, too fast. Yet another part of him felt an intense pull toward that very honesty. Maybe what we find won't be as daunting as we fear, he pondered, daring himself to find the truth behind the shadows. Let's talk about it, he urged, the decisiveness mingling with an undercurrent of anxiety. He was faced with no easy answer, just an unfolding uncertainty that intensified with each heartbeat. But would they? Would they take the risk alongside him? Would they dig deep into the uncomfortable, define their painful moments, and emerge transformed? As the silence settled once more in the room, Tom refrained from holding his breath, willing to listen, to navigate the murky waters ahead. In this pivotal moment, the choice was theirs to make: engage in the uncomfortable truth or shy away into the darkness of silence. What would emerge as the next twist in their narrative? The urgency for breakthrough weighed heavily, and Tom realized that clarity could lie just beyond the threshold of discomfort. But before he could contemplate what that clarity might hold, he sensed a storm brewing, not just in the atmosphere around them, but deep within himself. How long could he remain steadfast in the pursuit of connection before the truths started unearthing hidden consequences? And what would those unearthings reveal? The room fell into an echoing silence, suffocating yet pregnant with possibility. Tom felt the weight of his own breath, the rhythmic sound swelling the air that buzzed with unspoken words. His heart raced as he searched their faces, desperate for something, anything, that would confirm he was making the right choice by pushing for openness. Lily's gaze flicked to the floor, a physical manifestation of her internal struggle. Jake crossed his arms, his body language oscillating between guardedness and a willingness to bend. The two of them were participating in a delicate dance of emotions, tethered to an invisible thread of hurt that had over time transformed into resentment. Tom concentrated on the pie, a strange symbol of nostalgia. He remembered the kitchen, the flour-dusted counters, the sweetness of laughter saturating the air as they crafted memories. A bittersweet flicker lit within him. If they could find the courage to slice into the layers of long-held grievances, perhaps they could bake something new together. As this thought crystallized in his mind, he honed in on Jake. "Jake," he said, voice steady though his insides twisted. "What do you need? What can we do to make this different?" He felt exposed, opening himself to answers that might pierce deeply, but he had committed himself to that vulnerability. Jake shifted, his brows furrowing as Tom's question ricocheted through the silence. "Honestly, Dad, I feel overlooked. Like you've just stooped into your work and left us to fend for ourselves. I don't want that anymore. I want a dad in my life, not just an operator in the background." Those words stung, a reflection of his own struggles to balance work with fatherhood. Tom swallowed hard, grappling with guilt and the unmistakable pang of regret. "And I didn't realize how far I had let it go. I took so much for granted, assuming you both understood. I'm sorry." Something in the admission flickered with warmth, piercing through the frost that had encased their relationship. Lily glanced at her brother, and then back at Tom, uncertainty blossoming as though a door had cracked open just a bit. "Dad, I think there's an ache that you don't understand, and maybe it's unfair to expect you to, but I want to explain it. Just don't shut down, okay?" Her plea resonated with the longing for connection, echoing what lay outside of her words. "I promise," Tom replied, feeling sincerity pulse through him. "Tell me what's been going on in your hearts, and I'll listen. I want to hear it, all of it." Jake uncrossed his arms, inching toward a willingness to confront their pain. "You've been so closed off since Mom passed. You buried yourself in work. I mean, we get it. Grieving is messy, but it feels like we lost you in the process." Each word from his son reverberated through Tom's mind, unraveling old tensions and igniting new hope. As he wrestled with the truth, he recognized his avoidance had indeed served to barricade the very relationships he held dear. The fog of denial began to rise, unveiling his own feelings of inadequacy as a father. "Maybe it's time for all of us to admit how deeply this has affected us," Tom conceded, the ache tightening around his heart, becoming an unmistakable call for unity. Lily chimed in, her tone firm yet brittle. "Yes, we've all tried to move forward, but we haven't understood each other." The urgency of the moment set his determination ablaze. The invisible thread that bound them, woven from shared grief, could be remade into something stronger, as long as they took the risk to dive into the emotional depths together. Yet still, doubt loomed over Tom's well-being. Would their willingness to confront the past lead them into a healing abyss or open up uncharted chaos? The answers lay just beyond the threshold, but uncertainty still clung like fog, blurring his instincts. "Are we truly ready for this?" he mused inwardly, fears intertwining with newfound resolve. Each heartbeat pulsated with both anticipation and dread, but he sensed the transformative power that could arise from choosing to engage. As the weight of the moment settled heavily on his shoulders, he could only hope they were standing at the precipice of a breakthrough that might change everything. Would their vulnerabilities usher in renewal or pull them into deeper divides? The question hung in the air, a heavy heartbeat resonating with the uncharacteristic and exhilarating sensation of hope. With a resolve tempered by vulnerability, Tom took a breath, preparing to navigate what lay ahead, firmly aware of the looming storm that threatened to unveil hidden truths. Would the unveiling bring forth healing or dismantle the fragile threads still holding them together? As the weight of the moment enveloped Tom, a silence deeper and more poignant than before stretched between them. Jake's eyes held a blend of expectation and trepidation, while Lily's expression revealed a mixture of resolve and unresolved sorrow. Tom realized that the openness he sought was not just about asking questions. It was an active invitation for them all to step into their vulnerabilities together. "Let's talk," he finally said, a quiet conviction pushing him to stand firm. "I'm ready to hear what's in your hearts. I want to understand, really understand, what we've all been feeling." Immediate fear flared within him, fear of the painful truths that might emerge, but he also recognized that evading those truths had only forged a larger chasm between them. "Okay," Jake began, his voice hoarse but steady. "It's like every day I see a part of you missing, and that's not just because Mom's gone. You come home and you're always distracted. It feels like we're all pretending everything's normal when it isn't." Lily nodded, biting her lip, her earlier uncertainty transforming into determination. "We're scared too, Dad. Every holiday, it's this empty chair. We talk about the good times, the small moments that seem like they mean something, but we haven't actually talked about how much it hurts. You act like you've moved on, but we haven't, and it's okay to not be okay." As they spoke, a realization dawned on Tom. Their sharing wasn't an attack on him, but rather an opening. Every confession peeled away a layer of the facade he had clung to, revealing raw, honest feelings beneath. I thought I was doing my best by focusing on work to provide for us. I didn't want to burden you with my grief," he admitted, his voice faltering. "But we're your family. We wanted to share that burden with you," Jake implored, leaning forward. "You can't keep shutting us out. You were supposed to be our anchor, but instead, you've just drifted away." That word, anchor, struck Tom like a physical blow, each syllable echoing in the confines of his mind. They had all been adrift in their own ways, but now an opportunity surfaced, not just to acknowledge their pain, but to reclaim their familial bond. "I'm so sorry," he said, emotion washing over him. "I'll admit it, I didn't know how to balance being a dad and dealing with this." He gestured vaguely, the weight of grief pressing down on all of them. "I thought staying busy would shield you from my struggles, but instead it's created a chasm. Now that we're facing it, what do we do next?" Lily asked, her brows furrowing slightly as she considered possible paths forward. Tom paused, reflecting on the uncharted territory they were venturing into. The vulnerability they shared felt like a fragile thread, but it was also sturdy, capable of holding the weight of their shared histories, memories, and unforeseen futures. "We need to talk about memories, the ones that still matter to us, and not just those that hurt. We need to share our grief, but also our laughter." A flicker of hope blossomed in Lily's eyes. It might help to do things together, like make those old recipes or drive to places we loved as a family, revisit the joy we had, rebuild even in the brokenness. A plan formed in Tom's mind, a strategy that anchored their discussions in tangible actions rather than abstract emotions. "Let's make it a project. We can relive moments one by one. Let's cook together, dig through our photo albums, and even let ourselves cry together." The sheer audacity of this approach began to excite him, and for the first time in a long time, clarity washed away some of his lingering apprehensions. But beneath the excitement simmered another emotion: dread. What if memories stirred deeper pain? What if revealing their vulnerabilities unearthed more chaos? "Dad, will you really commit to this?" Jake asked, searching Tom's face for conviction. Holding their gaze, Tom felt the fire of determination igniting within him. "Yes, I need to do this, for all of us, and to become the father I want to be." As the bond between them tightened, an unresolved tension remained, still thick in the air. They might be ready to confront the past, but was the past ready to confront them? And what revelations would come when they peeled back the layers of their collective pain? The answers eluded them as they stood on the precipice of emotional exploration, a dive into healing that could just as easily unearth resentments buried deep. As they marched toward the unknown, Tom sensed an imminent confrontation, against his own evasion, and against the ghosts that lurked in the corners of their hearts. Would they emerge transformed, or would they find themselves ensnared in old patterns, the wounds reopening rather than healing? The moment awaited them, balancing on a knife edge of hope and fear. What would surface in the pursuit of healing? Tom's heart raced at the thought, already anticipating where this new path might lead, but also understanding they were at the very edge of a new, unpredictable journey. Tom took a deep breath, setting the tone for this new chapter in their lives. Standing in the family kitchen, he watched as Jake and Lily rummaged through the cabinets, pulling out beloved old cookbooks and gathering cherished kitchen utensils. The warm glow of the fading afternoon sun filtered in, illuminating their faces with a soft, tender light, fostering a semblance of comfort amidst the shadows they intended to confront. "First on the list, our famous pumpkin pie," Lily announced with a slight smile, opening a page smeared with flour and years of love. "Remember how Mom used to make it with that sprinkle of nutmeg?" The mention of their mother was a gentle yet sharp reminder of the void she left. Tom felt a stirring in his chest, unsure whether this journey would bring them closer or deepen their sorrow. "Let's do it, just like she taught us," he replied, struggling to quell the emotions threatening to bubble over. The skills he had neglected and the memories he had tried to avoid wrapped around him, both comforting and suffocating. As they began to measure the ingredients, laughter punctuated the tension. Jake's attempts to recall each step were met with playful teasing from Lily, a dynamic that felt both familiar and foreign. It was in these lighter moments that Tom found fragments of the joy that had been buried underneath layers of grief. With each whisk of the egg, each stir of the batter, they began unraveling stories, remembrances woven tightly with threads of nostalgia. They shared their favorite pies, spilled the secrets of past holiday mishaps, and reflected on the lessons their mother imparted, which had fallen silent for far too long. "Do you think Mom would be proud?" Jake asked suddenly, seriousness returning to the moment. "It's hard to say," Tom replied, vulnerability creeping into his voice. "But I hope she would understand how hard this is for all of us, how much we've struggled to navigate our lives without her." Lily's brow furrowed in thought. "We can't keep pretending it's all fine. There are things we should say out loud, like how much we miss her and how we wish we could have her back, even if just for a day." Tom felt the weight of those words crash over him, deeper than any physical burden. "I wish I could have done better for you both. I kept thinking that by keeping busy, we'd be okay." "Dad," Jake interjected softly, "we need you. We need you to be, well, you. We don't need a superhero. We just want to connect and support each other." That realization pinged through Tom like a lightning bolt. He had prioritized providing over connecting, allowing the fabric of their relationship to fray. He needed to embrace his role not only as a provider, but as a father who was present, capable of showing that he was just as human as they were. A moment of clarity dawned. This was more than just cooking. It was a venture into vulnerability and a step towards healing. He had learned through tragedy, yet the simplicity of being together could forge a new bond. As the pie baked, they shifted to the next reminiscence, family trips to the lake where laughter echoed through the trees. They started to reminisce about moments that blended laughter with grief. Every shared memory felt like a stitch in the fabric of their reconnection. Yet, with every stitch came the underlying fear of what might surface next. Old wounds buried, words left unspoken. What truths might they tumble upon when they unlocked the floodgates of feeling? Would the restoration of their bond withstand the inevitable fraying? Tom could sense it brewing, like a pot about to boil over. They all wore masks of hope, but the undercurrent was heavy with unsaid sentiments, fears, and old resentments. They had just begun to touch the surface of their past, yet he knew the journey was only starting. "Next, let's look through the photo albums," Lily suggested. "I have a feeling that will unlock even more memories." Tom nodded. "All right, I'm ready for that." But deep within him, lingered the apprehension of what photographs might reveal, what moments might shatter the fragile reassurance they were just beginning to build. As they moved toward the living room, Tom felt the air grow heavier, thick with anticipation, both exhilarating and terrifying. The past had been brushed aside for so long, yet now it loomed ahead, raw and unfiltered. Would facing it bring them together, or push them further apart? The challenge lay ahead, shrouded in uncertainty. Would they find solace in discovery, or would long-absent shadows pull them back into darkness? Tom stepped into the living room, pulling the familiar album from the shelf, its spine worn and pages slightly yellowed. A tidal wave of emotions washed over him as he held the weight of not just photographs, but memories frozen in time, moments they had shared, but one moment in particular lingered, the last family holiday, where smiles guarded deeper sadness. Jake and Lily settled around him, the anticipation palpable. He could sense their eyes on him, not only waiting for the reveal of images, but seeking comfort in their father's voice, in his willingness to share and to confront. The atmosphere wrapped around them, mixing nostalgia with the pulse of grief that still clung tightly. "Okay, let's start from the beginning," Tom said, his voice slightly strained yet determined. He opened the album to the first page, revealing a bleary snapshot of his children grinning with unapologetic joy over a homemade cake. Their mother's laughter echoed in his memory, and he could almost hear her asking for a piece. "Look at those faces," Lily exclaimed, reaching to touch the photographic evidence of their innocence. "I remember that cake. You thought it would be a good idea to make it from scratch, Dad." Tom chuckled, the warmth of laughter kindling something in his chest. "I had every intention of impressing your mother, and you both ended up with more frosting on your faces than in the cake." Jake leaned closer, tracing the contours of the photo. "Remember the time you set the kitchen on fire while trying to flambe the dessert? It took Mom forever to get the smoke out." The sound of laughter bounced around the room, but at the corner of Tom's heart, uncertainty twitched. This joy, he realized, was a faucet he had left closed for too long. It felt foreign, yet remarkably necessary. However, as the album turned, a spine-stiffening seriousness crept in. They came across an image taken during a family beach trip, the three of them playing in waves, Tom standing behind while his children splashed ahead. But next to that image was another, one from last Thanksgiving. Solo frames of Tom, each a testament to his solitude and family occasions, faced the joy of prior holidays head-on, starkly contrasting the warmth of yesterday. Tom's heart raced. "We need to address this," he thought, his instincts screaming for acknowledgement of what lay beneath the surface of their verbal exchanges. "Mom is gone, and I have been so caught up trying to fill her role that I didn't realize how isolated I've made us all feel." "Dad, what's wrong?" Jake's voice interrupted his drifting thoughts, concern etching his features. Taking a breath, Tom chose honesty. "It's just, these old memories bring so much joy, but I see what's missing too. I'm scared we'll go back to ignoring what matters, each other." The weight of his admission bore down on him, exposing the vulnerability he had shielded from them until now. Lily leaned closer, her expression softening. "It's okay to be scared," she reassured, a thread of understanding weaving through her words. "We're all figuring this out together, right?" The levity shifted, a palpable tension underlying their conversation, ready to pulse forward. The couch sagged beneath them, a comfortable space, but not without fraying edges that indicated the challenges ahead. Tom's spirit wavered as he faced the turbulent feelings rising, the possibility of addressing hard truths lurking like shadows. What if we unravel things we can't fix? What if we discover resentment instead of love? But something stronger churned within him, a desperate need for transformation. The challenge would be to chart a course for deeper connections, daring to face the shadows. This is not just about remembering, he thought gravely. It's also about healing. As they continued combing through memories, Tom felt the therapeutic weight of the past merging with the urgent need for clarity in the present, a phrase repeating in his head. Witness a prompting to dialogue. Understand our grief. Next, he said, his heart pounding, we need to talk about the last Thanksgiving. I think we need to confront not just the memories, but the truth surrounding them. Lily and Jake shared a glance, the air thickening with anticipation. The moment had arrived to uncover hidden grievances. Would they find strength, or would the abyss of unresolved pain swallow them alive? Tom took a deep breath, feeling the air grow dense with unspoken words. The flicker of the overhead light cast shadows across their faces, mirroring the gravity of the moment. He felt an unmistakable weight pressing on his chest, a sense of urgency pulling him deeper into the heart of their shared pain. It was a reckoning he hadn't anticipated, but was now wholly unprepared to ignore. Last Thanksgiving, he ventured, his voice low and steady. Things were different. Everyone seemed distant. He hesitated, recalling the echoes of laughter that felt more like a distant memory than an actual event. Can you tell me how you both felt? Lily's fingers paused over the photograph in her lap. It felt like it was just you and us, Dad. Like we were a team, forced to carry the weight of the past on our own. I wanted to call Mom, just to hear her voice, to know she was still part of whatever we were doing. Instead, we just... Her voice trailed off, the emotions swirling like a tempest behind her eyes. Jake nodded slowly, his brow furrowed. It was lonely, Dad. You were there, but it felt like you were somewhere else entirely. I remember trying to reach out to you, but I got nothing. His words landed heavily in the room, igniting the unaddressed tensions that had lingered beneath the surface. Tom's heart clenched. Those words were a revelation, a mirror reflecting the isolation he had imposed, not just on himself, but on his children as well. I didn't even realize, he managed, guilt gnawing at him. I thought I was protecting you both, trying to shield you from my grief. By shutting us out? Lily asked pointedly, the edge of her words sharp yet tinged with compassion. Maybe I thought if I put on a brave face, it would help you both heal, Tom admitted, feeling the clammy grip of his own inadequacies. But it seems like it only made things worse. Silence settled in, hanging ominously in the air, each of them grappling with the intricacies of vulnerability. Deep down, Tom felt the shift in himself. A flicker of courage ignited within him, fueled by the realization that facing this turmoil was the single path to healing. They needed more than just acknowledgement. They needed a way forward. Let's talk about how we move on from here, he suggested carefully, his voice gaining strength. We need to be honest about our feelings moving forward, not just about the past. Jake blinked, processing the shift. What do you mean? Perhaps we should start new traditions. Maybe we can refresh how we handle the holidays and family gatherings. We can each carry a piece of Mom's memory with us instead of trying to recreate what once was, Tom proposed, a mix of hope and uncertainty driving his words. It could be as simple as setting aside our favorite dish she always made, or inviting a friend over to break the monotony of the years. Lily looked at him thoughtfully. As long as we're open about what we want, she stressed, the sincerity clear in her eyes. No more pretending. Tom felt a surge of resolve. Agreed. We'll create a space where healing can happen. A space where we can speak our truths without fear. With a newfound determination, he saw the possibility of resilience sparking. The murkiest waters could become clear, with understanding as the bridge toward something greater. As they began to discuss ideas, Tom realized a thread of doubt still lingered at the back of his mind. Will this truly lead us to healing? He questioned silently. With each passing moment, the conversation began to shape itself into not only an emotional release, but also a plan of actionable change, one that Tom had unknowingly yearned for. It was no longer just about tackling the heaviness of past Thanksgiving holidays. It was a journey into reconnection. But as their talk meandered through memories, one haunting thought returned unbidden. Had they catalyzed the shoulders of a future where the wounds of the past still held sway, ready to emerge when least expected? Tom found himself wrestling with the weight of that uncertainty, the desire for a brighter future competing against the fear of rediscovering the pain all over again. The momentary resolve deepened into a knot of anticipation lingering in the space between them. The path forward shimmered with uncertainty and hope. What if we failed to hold ourselves accountable? He pondered, bracing himself for the possibility of conflict as they prepared to dive into deeper waters. The air thickened again. Eager yet hesitant, Tom sensed they stood at a precipice, ready to leap into a world of honesty they had long avoided. And as discussions continued to flourish in the living room, the question loomed. Would this be the turning point they needed, or merely another attempt lost in the shadows of their grief? The conversation lingered in the air, shifting like fog, with each member of the family grappling for clarity. Tom sensed the intimacy of their moment was fragile, a tapestry woven from threads of vulnerability that could unravel at any second. Yet within that fragility, he discovered a pulse, an energy that breathed life into the stagnant waters of their relationship. Let's set a goal, he proposed, his demeanor firming. Something tangible. What if we create a family mission statement? It was an idea he had encountered in a professional development seminar, but the intent felt profoundly personal now. Each of us could contribute something that expresses how we wish to honor Mom's memory, while also welcoming the future. Jake raised an eyebrow, bemusement flickering across his face. A mission statement? Isn't that a little corporate? Maybe, Tom admitted, feeling the hint of a smile creeping into his lips. But it's a framework. It gives us direction. Think of it as our family charter, something we can refer back to when the old patterns start pulling us down again. Lily leaned back in her chair, considering. I like it. But we must also address the fact we can't predict how everything will go. Accepting that is part of our growth, isn't it? Her voice was laced with an honesty that felt profound against the backdrop of their struggle. Yes, Tom responded, his gut tightening but the clarity rising. Past failures danced in his memory, the subtle bickerings, the shrugging off of genuine moments, the resolve to carry his grief alone. That resignation had been a blindfold, obscuring the vibrant possibilities of connection that lay beyond. With each familial input, they began to mold their mission statement, a reflection of grief intertwined with hope, a declaration that recognized the past while remaining open to whatever came next. As he scribbled down Lucy's and Jake's thoughtful contributions, he felt not just the act of pen on paper, but a commitment to face whatever would rise from these discussions. Tom found himself recalling a pivotal lesson from years of corporate leadership regarding the importance of buy-in. The best plans fail if no one believes in them. This is not just about me as a father, he said, his tone urgent yet inviting. We are equal parts in this. What do you both truly want us to become moving forward? As he awaited their responses, a new worry twisted within him. The weight of expectation began to settle upon his shoulders. If they stumbled in execution, the fear of having failed them again was an unsettling specter hovering just beyond their newly brightened horizon. Maybe we should organize a day, like a family retreat, Jake suggested, his eyes suddenly alive with possibility. We could brainstorm, build our mission statement, and do some fun activities. It sounds healthy. Like team building? Lily quipped, her half-smile underscoring the element of lightness amidst the earnestness. Exactly. Except it would involve more laughter than PowerPoints, Jake asserted with a grin, and Tom couldn't help but chuckle, a warmth spreading in the wake of their silly banter. In this interplay of ideas, the air thickened with anticipation. They were grappling with the scaffolding of rebuilding, searching for balance between honoring the past and extending their reach towards the future. Tom felt invigorated, ignited by this burgeoning sense of community they were crafting together. But looming within the sanctuary of their newfound bond was an unsettling reality. What if old resentments resurfaced during their retreat? They had been harboring unspoken grievances for too long. What if the day turned into an unintentional battlefield instead of a space for healing? Perhaps this venture into the unknown was meant to eclipse those fears. Or perhaps it was merely a facade awaiting the inevitable crash of disappointment. Tom wrestled with that notion and recognized the duality within himself, the desire for connection and the instinct to protect. With each step forward, he felt the echoes of both shame and hope colliding in his heart, forming a complicated landscape yet to be traversed. "Are we ready for this?" he asked, throwing it out into the mix as they prepared to resurface their commitments. As the profound silence filled the space, Tom felt the weight of generational grief pressing down once more, intertwining with a burgeoning passion for discovery. It was a paradox, a tension lingering in the air, reflecting their collective anxiety and unyielding desire for a new beginning. The day approached, a chance for reformation, but also an invitation to confront what had been long buried. What awaited them on this exploratory journey? Tom felt invigorated yet afraid, standing poised on the brink of something potentially beautiful. And as he looked into their faces, illuminated by the promise of change, he understood he was not only fighting for their future, but for his own redemption as well. The moment of truth was grasping at the edges of the horizon, pressing him with a critical question. Could they navigate the rocks of their past without tearing their ship asunder? As Thanksgiving approached once more, Tom found himself meticulously planning a family retreat, the culmination of their shared commitment to healing and reconnection. It had been months since that pivotal day in the kitchen, where buried truths sprang forth, painting a new tapestry of hope woven with threads of vulnerability. Tom stood looking at the venue, a cozy cabin nestled amidst the pines, evoking nostalgia just from its picture. This would be the perfect place to instill new memories, far removed from the shadows of the past. The invitation to Jake and Lily awaited their acceptance, and for the first time in years, Tom felt the exhilaration rather than dread. He was ready to embrace both joy and unease, not as a distraction from grief, but as an acceptance of their shared reality. "Dad, are you ready for this?" Lily asked, her voice both earnest and reassuring as they packed the car. "I think so," he replied, his heart racing with anticipation. "I'm ready to learn and grow with you both. Together." Each word resonated with newfound dedication, a commitment to not only acknowledge pain, but cherish connection. As they arrived, the fresh scent of pine enveloped them, each breath infused with possibilities. They unpacked their belongings, laughter spilling over like sunlight creeping into dark corners. The weekend unfolded gently, a series of activities fostering shared laughter and reminiscences. In those moments, worry receded, making way for warmth as they reminisced about their family traditions. As night fell, they gathered around a crackling fire, the glow wrapping them in a sense of coziness they'd long missed. With marshmallows roasting and memories rekindling, Tom felt a remarkable shift. No longer was he the father burdened by lost moments. In their laughter, he found a renewed chance at fatherhood grounded in genuine engagement. "Let's finalize our mission statement," Jake proposed, a spark of energy igniting within the group. The decision sent a thrill of anticipation coursing through Tom. They had discussed it before, but now it felt essential, an anchor among shifting tides of their lives. "What do we want our family to represent?" Lil asked, peering at the fire's dance. Tom began. "We need to honor Mom's memory, express our love for each other, and commit to being present. We need to ensure that every holiday feels inclusive, and we share our truths without fear. A promise to embrace even the harder discussions." Each word felt like a commitment layered with intention, the promise of a renewed foundation. They collaborated seamlessly as the night wore on, piecing together their aspirations, their fears, and their gratitude. Each contribution was a testament to their willingness to transform and coexist, framing their family's new chapter in authentic warmth. Their mission swiftly morphed from a list into a powerful declaration of identity, stamped with the indelible imprint of personal metamorphosis. Weeks later, surrounded by laughter and aroma of that year's Thanksgiving feast, Tom stood by the table with a heart bursting with pride. This year was different. There were no empty chairs. They had rebuilt not only a physical table, but a symbolic representation of their ties woven tighter than ever. Family. The word echoed as Jake rose to offer a toast, a ritual of gratitude infused with newfound love. To family, to the journey we've shared, all the memories, past and future. Here's to us. Tom felt the swell of warmth engulf him. This moment wasn't merely about the food or the setting. It was the culmination of their progressive commitment to break down barriers and foster connection. As conversation and laughter swirled around him, he recognized his own transformation. Tom had gone from merely existing in his children's lives to actively participating, displaying an emotional openness that had been locked away for too long. They were co-authors of each other's stories now, each laden with the responsibility and joy of shared experience. And as he surveyed the table, the weight of gratitude enveloped him. He had conquered the isolation of fear that once held him captive. Instead, he stood tall, a father not merely performing a role, but living it fully, enriched by the emotional scars they bore together. This time, as they moved closer to their mission, a family comforted by enduring bonds, Tom felt solid confidence bloom within him. He had proven that vulnerability in seeking connection could lead to profound transformations, gently guiding each of them out of the shadows of the past and into the light of renewal. Now, the future loomed brighter than ever. Tom grasped the significance of this holiday, not just as a tradition, but as a testament to resilience. Their journey had forged a new path, not only for Thanksgiving celebrations to come, but for their lives intertwined. As the clamor of joy echoed around him, he whispered a silent affirmation of gratitude for the connections they had rebuilt and for the love that continued to blossom. With a heart full of resolve, he made a pledge, not to avoid addressing challenges, but to embrace the beauty of their evolving narrative together. This was the moment to expand, to rebuild, to journey forward. They had turned a page that would guide them from isolation into communion, from silence into understanding. As the laughter crescendoed, a thought surged through Tom. Here, at this table, surrounded by those he loved, he had truly arrived at a place of personal achievement, the glory of connection stitched together by respect, love, and the courage to face the depths of emotion. Thanksgiving would never be the same, and just as he envisioned, they were on the cusp of carving out new family traditions rich with authenticity and warmth, growth pulsing through every shared glance and unspoken promise made. Now, dear friends, I implore you, you need to subscribe now to the channel for more exclusive emotional stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and make our community thrive. Comment your reactions and theories about this transformative ending, and above all, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second. As true fans of personal overcoming stories, your actions truly matter.